we're just going to turn it over to Miss Cookie Williams. We are so excited, and I know she's been very patient on the line in just like getting ready for this morning. I'm enjoying it. Thank you, Miss Cookie, and we are going to turn it over to you.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here this morning and having me today. To keep with the Thanksgiving theme, I'm very thankful to be here and thankful for all of you and the opportunity to share this content with our up and coming young adults. And so hopefully you all got a chance to go through the material that was shared with you last month and you found it enlightening and found some information that you didn't know before and were able to complete the assignment. So is there anyone on the line who wants to share what they've learned in that experiment? And you can come off mute and speak verbally. You don't have to put it in the chat. Okay, to Corey.
I learned that it's very expensive to do a lot of things. I didn't realize for my own insurance, it could be like $500 just for myself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I learned that just for me, living can be up to $3,000, $4,000 itself without kids or anything. So it's very expensive.
Wonderful. That's a good point you share because until you start to do the research and actually have to look at those facts, you really don't know. You're really unaware. And so I was one of those people who had no clue until, I was getting my first paycheck and looking at it and you see those deductions and you're like, what? And that costs what? And so it's a very good experience and exercise to go through to give you that awareness ahead of time because it gives you an opportunity to plan and prepare. So hopefully it didn't frighten you. It was just a little shocking, but it was able to give you some insight into what to look forward to and how to plan and prepare for your financial future.
Yes.
Anything else you wanted to share, or did you discover anything else?
I didn't know it was that expensive to live in Greenville. I planned around Greenville, and I didn't know some apartments now down there are like 8,000 to live in, like New York. So I was surprised by that.
Yes. And so that's a real hot issue right now, affordable housing. Even in the Charlotte market, I moved here with my family in 2004, and one of the appealing things about coming to Charlotte was I felt like when my kids graduated high school, they wouldn't have to work three jobs to, have their own apartment. And now it's like it's flipped all the way upside down, and rents are through the roof. And like you said, they're close to what New York market rents are. So it's really changed. And having that awareness and understanding about what's really going on in the market is really key to making sure you prepare before you jump out there and make those decisions blindly because it can really hurt you financially. And so plan and prepare as much as you can, save as much as you can. If you get Christmas money, birthday money, if you're working a part-time job while you're in school, all of that can add up and help you to achieve the goals you want to achieve and just to live a basic life, right? So I'm glad you brought that point up to Corey about location because that's very important as well. Looking at other markets, seeing where you can go and live a little bit less expensive, seeing if you can live in an area that has transportation readily, or you can walk to work or walk to local shops and entertainment. So that's important as well. Anybody else have any research that they did about location, about what their life would look like working on their own and living on their own? Okay. Well, Takori, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Did anybody else complete their assignment other than Corey?
I'm gonna be honest, I did not.
Okay, you did not. Okay, thank you
I
for
thought we
sharing
were
that.
gonna be doing it today. That's why I didn't complete it.
Okay, that's fine. So based on some of the information that Takori shared, um, did you have any awareness of that already, Tiante, right?
I was aware that insurance was high, but I did not think it was gonna be like over $500.
Yeah. Yeah, things are expensive. And I see Jaden, you said you just completed your assignment. Maddie, you completed yours. And Amaya, you completed yours. Did you all have anything you wanted to share? Any insight you gained from completing the assignment? Other than insurance, did you look at any other deductions? Okay, go ahead, Amaya.
I learned that, you know, since we're young and we're under our parents' care, we're most of us, I assume, well, like for me, for example, you know, my nana pays the bills, my nana pays my car insurance, but it's a different ball game whenever you're making the money and you're paying. So it's harder to save whenever you have all the bills. And that's what I kind of learned from that is you have to be good with money management because if not, then you'll just kind of be living paycheck to paycheck.
Absolutely. And that's a great point because living with your parents and having someone else pick up those bills for you gives you a greater appreciation for that support now, doesn't
Yes, ma'am.
it? So now they're carrying a huge load and helping to support you and helping you get on track for your own adulthood and be able to take care of those expenses on your own. So it gives you that insight and ability to appreciate them even more and understand that when they're saying things are tight, when they're saying they can't afford to do this or that, you have a deeper understanding of why, because they're paying all these other additional expenses. Then that helps you understand that, they're not just saying that to be talking about it. They're really picking up a lot of slack here. So I'm glad you were able to see that and able to get a deeper appreciation for what your Nana does for you, because that's really important to understand that. Anyone else get some sort of insight about what their parents or other family members are doing to support them while they're still young and not able to really support themselves fully? Jaden, you completed your assignment. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
The occupation you pick has a lot to do with the expenses you pay out.
Say that one more time.
The occupation you pick has a lot to do with the expenses you pay out.
Yeah, that is true. What occupation did you choose for the exercise?
I chose a weather analyst or sports analyst.
Okay. And so which one worked out better? Did you kind of do a comparison?
Weather.
Okay. So being a weather analyst worked out better than being a sports analyst?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there more pay involved or just less schooling involved? Like, were there more upfront costs for one over the other?
For the weather analyst, the pay was much more high than the sports analyst.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't understand that either. I didn't know that. That's good to know. So picking a career is key, right? It can help you make a decision about how you want to live your life, whether you want to live in the city, whether you want to live in a rural area or a suburban area, how you want to plan for family in the future when you start to have your own family, the things you want to enjoy in your leisure time, like taking vacations, the entertainment you can participate in, whether you want to go to shows or, go to sporting events. Did anybody check out any sports tickets? How much it costs to go to a game and sit relatively close to the court or close to the field or on the 50-yard line? That's some interesting research there as well, because ticket costs, and then not even including what it costs to get the refreshments, your beverages at the concession stand, and any memorabilia or game gear that you want to put on to support your team, how much that costs to just go out and participate in that, hanging out with your friends, So all of this experience was designed to just kind of give you some insight and awareness into what your money future can look like, what it can look like, how you can prepare for it, some of the things that you didn't know about and weren't expecting. So, car insurance is a big one, but then when you get down to choosing a career and all of the deductions that will come out of your paycheck, that'll be another sticker shock for you. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and start to share my screen and jump into the presentation. And let's talk about some of that stuff, because hopefully you, with the knowledge that you've gained and the insights that you've learned from that experiment, you're able to look at planning a real solid financial plan for your future. And so choosing a career, like Jaden pointed out, is very, very important. It's one of the biggest questions in life. It's one of the most important life decisions you'll make coming out of high school is, what do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? And how am I going to do that? How am I going to achieve that? And so choosing that career and the financial aspect of that is very important to how you move forward in your future, right? So for this exercise, I just wanted to choose 3 different careers that we have at Bank of America. One pays 40K, the other pays 45, and one pays 50K. And that may sound like a lot of money right off the bat, but I can assure you that while it looks like a lot, it doesn't buy as much as you would think it buys. But with planning and with using a budget and the financial tools that are available to you, you can accomplish the goals that you set out for yourself. And you can always grow. You can always change. None of this is set in stone. None of these decisions have to be the rest of your life decisions. You can be in a career for 2 years, for 5 years, for 10 years, and then you decide you want to do something different. So that's the beauty about the reality we live in today, is that back in the days when baby boomers started working, that's the people that are 56 and up, they chose a career, and most of the time they stayed in that career for 30, 40, 50 years until retirement. And so they stayed with one company, they grew in that company if they could, or, continued to get their annual raises. And that was just their life. They became that, the employee of that company. Now people get into a job, they'll do something for a year or two. Oh, I don't really like that. Or I don't like this company. Let's go over here and try this. They stay with the same career path, but they go to a different company to try something different over there, or they'll switch to a new career altogether. So those are the options that are available to you. But for this exercise, I chose 3 career options that are at Bank of America right now. One is a business operations analyst role, and it's for someone that has very strong technical skills. Their typical work includes internal systems and data, and their starting salary is right around 40K. A business support manager is someone who uses their critical thinking skills and technical skills and project management skills. So their careers start up at about 45K. And then a trade control analyst is someone with a high aptitude for numbers. They understand finance and they can work in a fast-paced environment. So their salaries start at around 50K. And so when choosing a career, you want to look at all of that. Like, what are the requirements of the job? What are my real strengths? What are my, skill sets that I can bring? What am I able to learn quickly? Or what do I like? And so, like the previous exercise you just did with Dr. Les, identifying your learning style is also a great thing to do in terms of identifying jobs that you want to participate in or want to pursue. And so, all of this stuff ties in together. It's all about researching and understanding you first, because you'll be the one doing the job, doing the work, and earning the income, right? So being able to pick out some key things about yourself is going to be very key in picking a good career. And once you pick a career, you know also that that's part of what your income is. That's your income source, the base of how you live your financial life. And so part of income is just understanding that your gross pay is what the money that you earn, that's the total amount before your deductions are taken out of your paycheck. So it's not what you actually take home, and it's not what you'll be doing your budget on, your spending plan, and how you budget your money each week or each month, however your paychecks come in. So for this exercise, we just assumed that the person makes $20 an hour at $40 a week, 40 hours a week, and their gross weekly pay is $1,800, and their if they got paid biweekly, it's $1,600, and of course that monthly income would be $3,600. But that's only gross. And so the thing that's going to give you the sticker shock, even more than understanding about auto insurance and what rent costs and all those other expenses, is what gets taken out of your paycheck. And so some of those things we want to talk about are mandatory deductions. So when you get your paycheck, how many of you already have like a part-time job, or have a job already, or have worked before and received a paycheck?
Me.
Okay. And so you're probably familiar with your federal income tax, right? They take out for that. North Carolina has a flat tax rate of 5.75%. And Social Security tax and Medicare tax, that comes out of everyone's paycheck as well. And the thing about this tax is that both of these, your employer also has to pay the equal amount that you pay. So when they take out the 6.2%, your job also takes out 6.2% that they contribute on your behalf. The same way with the Medicare tax, that's how they contribute to Social Security as well, and Medicare for when you retire as a senior. But you both pay these taxes. So your job and yourself pay the 6.2% each and the 1.45%. And so those taxes come out of every paycheck, no matter what, no matter how many hours you worked, that's going to come out right off the top. And so when you see that, it's a shocking amount, and it looks like, that $800 turned into $575 really quickly, right? Because it just jumped down because of all the taxes that were being deducted. And so taxes are going to be a part of your life for the rest of your life while we live in this country under the tax codes that we live in. And so I pulled up the federal tax table for 2021. And how the tax table actually works is for the first $9,950, and we're just going to focus on single people for this exercise because we won't worry about the married people filing joint or separate, or the head of household, which is single parents who typically have children, and so or dependents, I would say. And so for the first $9,950 that you earn, you're being taxed at the federal rate of 10%. But if you bump up over that $9,950 to somewhere between $9,951 to $40,525, you also pay 10% on this first amount, but then 12% on anything between this range. And then if you make over 40,000, like in the example, that first person, that business analyst, they make 40K. So they're going to pay 10% plus 12% on this amount here. And their first 10% will go for this amount. So it's a little bit complicated because they're paying two tax rates, but it's based on two different amounts. When you jump over that 40,525, you jump into the 22% tax bracket, all the way up until you make $86,375. So our tax code becomes very complex if you don't know the numbers behind that. So if you look at the federal tax table and you get in the habit of understanding tax preparation, that helps you even more in terms of planning for a career, planning for how you're going to spend your net income versus your gross, because the taxes are based on the gross after your there's something called pre-tax benefits that you can use. You can pay for things like your 401k, retirement account, and we'll get into a little bit of that in a second. But those are pre-tax deductions, and those are taken off of what your gross amount is to bring it down a little lower. And sometimes even if you made 45, you might end up in the 12% tax bracket based on what you pay in what's called prepaids. Pre-tax dollars deduct from your overall gross amount, and you're able to reduce your tax burden. But that's a whole nother conversation. But for this exercise, we're going to deal with the 3 careers we chose. And so that business support, that business operations analyst, the business support manager, and the trade control analyst, this is kind of how it breaks down for them. They have a gross pay of $40,000, and then their federal income tax is both 10% and 12%, and that came out to a total of $4,600, right? And then they had the 5%, 5.75% North Carolina tax, and that was $2,300. Then they had the Social Security tax, which was 24, and the Medicare tax, which was 1.45 for 580. And so this is the total tax that was taken out of their gross pay, right? So they started out with 40K, and then they ended up with $30,037.50. So you can see the difference, almost $10,000 taken right off the top of the annual salary of someone who makes $40,000. And that's just their mandatory taxes, right? And the same thing for the person making 45K. Theirs was about 11,000 that came out, and they ended up with 33. And so the more you make, the more you end up with, but you still pay more in taxes. And so that person making 50 paid 12,500 in taxes and ended up with 37,000. So it's still good to make more money, but you're still going to pay taxes on it, right? Everybody with me so far in terms of understanding gross versus net and what happens with your taxes in terms of how that's calculated and how it comes out of your check? Any questions about that? Anything you didn't know, or does that clear up some things that you've been experiencing with your own paycheck? Let me see, I see some chats. No? Okay. So these voluntary deductions that come out of your pay, like I was mentioning before, your pre-tax deductions, this helps to bring down the amount of tax you end up paying. Because for most people, they don't want to pay a lot of taxes, especially if they don't understand, where their tax dollars are being used. So when you hear people tell a police officer, I pay your salary, they're saying that because our tax dollars are used for everything that runs the government. So from the mayor and the city council, and paying the police and the fire department, and fixing roads and bridges, and paying for traffic lights or stop signs, and all the things that run a government, that's what our tax dollars are supposed to pay for. All the government officials, their salary, their benefits, we pay for all of that with tax dollars. And so that's why when they look at, and I'm getting a little bit political, but I won't go too deep. But when you hear politicians talking about what they plan to do, what their plans are, they're talking about what they plan to do with the tax dollars that are generated from our income to be able to support our communities. And so the more as you get a little older and start to understand politics a little bit better, you will you'll start to see and understand taxes a lot more and how those dollars are being used. So again, back to some of the voluntary deductions. You pay for your health care premiums, right? So when you start working and you have health insurance, you pay for that. You pay for your 401k, which is a retirement plan that you start to save money, and it's saved at a rate that gives you growth over the years of your work history. And then you're able to use that money when you retire to live on. So you won't be working anymore, but you'll have this big nest egg, hopefully, that you've saved up and are able to accumulate and live off of, so that you can retire and not have to work anymore. And then you have flexible spending accounts, which are tied to your health care, because you're able to use that money to buy your prescription drugs, to pay for, things that you need at the pharmacy, like bandages and cough medicine and, you know, sleep aids and medicines to help you sleep or to help with ailment or illness. And so you use the flexible spending account to pay for those kinds of things, plus co-pays at the doctor. If you have to go to the hospital, it helps you pay for those kinds of things. But your job will take the money out per pay period before they take out your taxes, so that you pay taxes on a lower amount than you would if you didn't have all that. Also, I pay for commuter benefits, and that's like paying for my parking. So I get to pay for my parking before I pay my taxes, and that lowers my taxable income. So does everybody understand that taxable income versus your gross income versus your net income? If you have any questions, just feel free to come off mute and voice your questions vocally.
So, Ms. Cookie, this is Cyril.
Uh-huh.
Just so our kids can understand, what you're saying is that out of the net income, the taxes that are taken out, the pre-taxes that we are taking out, is going to help reduce the amount of tax we pay. So even though you're paying for that, service, it's taken out of your salary first and paid off of it, and we don't pay taxes on it.
Right. Absolutely, that's correct. Does everybody understand what Cyril was asking? What he was explaining?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. And so when we get down to getting all those deductions out and you end up with your net amount, your net pay, this is the net income. So this is after all of the mandatory deductions, but then it'll go a little lower because you'll have all of those pre-tax deductions that'll come out, and then after-tax deductions that come out that are not pre-taxable. So some after-tax deductions may be something like let me see, what is an after-tax deduction that I can think of that I have? If you have a 401k and your job allows you to you can take a loan out of your 401k account. It's not advised in most instances, but if you need to take it out for whatever reason, when you start to pay that loan back, that's an after tax deduction, and so that will be taxed before you even pay that. So that'll be something that comes out of your check. Also, something called long-term disability comes out after taxes. That's a benefit that you can pay for. So there are certain benefits that you can get through your job, through the company you work for, that are not pre-tax dollars, but they come after your taxes are taken out. And then that lowers your net income. So whatever your final net income is, the net income that's the money you live on. Okay. So that's how I want you to look at that. So anytime you're having a conversation about gross income versus net, the net is always that bottom dollar, that bottom line that you actually bring home. So don't bank on this number, bank on the net number. The net number is always going to be the number that actually comes into your bank account. And that's what you want to base your plans on and how you're going to live. Okay? So when you're thinking about net income and what that looks like and how you're going to manage that, the best thing to do is, plan what you want to do, plan how you're going to live, plan what you're going to use your finances on, and how you do that is creating a budget. So most of you now are living with your parents or grandparents or other guardian in your family, or whatever your situation, and you have some support to help you manage those life expenses that everybody needs to live on, covering housing costs, covering transportation, groceries and food and all that kind of stuff. So once you start to get out on your own, and even going into college, you'll have some of those expenses on your own. Start to think about what that's going to look like for you. Because when you start earning a paycheck, whether you're working at McDonald's, which is a great company, by the way. Um, you can you can start to look at what your net income is going to be and how you can manage that. So figure out the best way for you to track your expenses and your budget. You can use a spreadsheet. You can use some of the apps. I know Bank of America, if you have an account with them, they have um, great apps, um, great tools in their mobile banking app that you can use to help you create a spending plan, to help you plan for goals, and to be able to track that and make sure that you're staying on track. Does anybody here bank with Bank of America or Wells Fargo or SunTrust or Truliant, a credit union? Anybody have an account already or have any experience with banking?
I have an account with the credit union.
Oh, wonderful. And so do they have an app that you have access to?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wonderful. And so a lot of financial institutions have apps that help you create a budget. Some of them will help you track your expenses based on what you pay with your debit card and things like that. Are you able to utilize some of those tools?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, great. And are you working, Jaden?
No, ma'am. I wish I was.
Oh, okay. So when you do start working, and if once you have a bank account, there's something called direct deposit. And direct deposit helps you. That's one of the best money management tools you can have that your job has to offer you is to have direct deposit. And if your job allows you to, have multiple direct deposit options, that's perfect because you're able to, direct money to go. So you can say, I want right off the bat, I want 10% of my income, of my net income to go directly into this savings account over here. And you just put that account number on there, put that information there, and as soon as you get paid, that money goes right into that savings account. 10% of whatever you earned goes right into that savings account. And you can
Right.
say the balance can go into this account, or you can say, I want 5% to go in this account, and you can have a different account that could be like for your entertainment. So let's say you wanted to have 5% of your income and you said that's going to be for my entertainment or, miscellaneous expenses when I splurge, like if I want to buy a new pair of sneakers or if I want to buy an outfit or buy a concert ticket or go to the movies. I want this 5% account to be over here and put that money right in there. So 5% can go in that account and automatically the 5% goes in. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to think about it. And then the rest goes into your main checking account. And excuse me. And if you have that checking account connected to a debit card, it's even easier to manage your money. Was somebody saying something? Okay. So we talked about this already about the net income. And basically, being able to subtract those deductions and making sure that you're working your budget from your net income. So that's the key to it all in terms of managing your day-to-day finances is managing that net income because that's going to be the critical part. So whenever you go for a job and it's telling you this is how much it is an hour, blah, 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 once you know that hourly rate and how many hours you'll be working, you can do some quick calculations using the tax tables that are available for anyone. You can Google them and you can use those tax tables to figure out what your mandatory deductions are going to be based on your hourly income. That'll give you a ballpark about where you'll be in terms of net income after all those taxes are taken out. So you don't have to wait until you get your first paycheck to know that. You can kind of have a ballpark figure about what it might be, coming after taxes with your net income. Okay. And then track your spending. So, like I just talked about in terms of direct deposits, even if you don't have direct deposit for that, and you put your money in, manually, you have to go to the bank and, divvy up where you want that to go. Track what you're spending, and separating accounts is a good way to do that. If you have a main account that covers all of your main things, like, so before you get out and are on your own, you may have expenses like helping with your car insurance or helping with your car payment, or maybe even just paying your cell phone bill. So tracking how much you're spending. If your cell phone plan is not unlimited and you have to pay for any overages, watching that overage, making sure that you're not going over that amount that's set for you, so you don't have any extra expenses, right? But tracking your fixed expenses like cell phone bills, and like a bus pass, if you have to pay for a bus pass. If you put gas in your car, you should know that if you're just going back and forth to certain places, you're only using about, $25 worth of gas a week. So you know that that's what your gas expenses are. Just making sure you understand what your fixed expenses are, and then variable expenses are groceries and, entertainment, things that you don't have to spend each time, and things that go up and down in price. And so groceries, if you buy something that you're not going to have to buy every single week, like you don't have to buy sugar every week. Sometimes you can buy it once a month and it may last you for 2 months. So that's something that you don't have to worry about it going up and down. But you might have to get eggs every 2 weeks. So you might have to buy enough eggs to last for the month. You might have to buy enough bread, or you might go every week to the grocery store to get bread, to get milk, to get things that are that you consume more readily and a lot more often, and things that you buy like sugar and salt and flour, things like that that you use on a regular basis, but you don't use as much, and you can stretch that out to make it last. Those things you won't be buying all the time, but using a list when going to the grocery store can help you with your variable expenses. Um, Waiting for discounts on tickets when you're getting entertainment, when you're going out to a concert or going to a movie, even maybe not going opening week and going on a Tuesday. I know AMC theaters, they have a $5 Tuesday deal where you can go and see a movie for $5. Whereas if you went on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night, it would cost you $12 or $13. So looking for deals and clipping coupons, and a lot of the grocery stores offer gas points now, so you can look at some of that stuff to kind of keep your expenses down. So tracking your expenses is a great way to help you stay on budget and keep an eye on how you're using your net income. So a tip that you can use is to record your spending daily so it doesn't creep up on you and surprise you. Because if you jot it down every day, or if you put it in your app, if you're using some sort of financial tracking app, like at your credit union or at your bank account, wherever you have your bank account, if they have tools like that where you can put in and record your daily spending. Or if you're using a debit card, it's automatically in there. You just download those transactions onto a spreadsheet, and you can track that very well and see where you're spending money and see how you can cut, and see where some things, it'll help you plan ahead for some things that might come up that are not monthly expenses. Some people pay their car insurance every 6 months. So when you know that's coming up and you see your expenses getting a little tight, you may want to slack down on your entertainment and save for those expenses that are going to come up in a couple months or so. And setting goals is also a good way to manage your funds and make sure you're, taking care of that net income. If you want to go to a concert, sometimes we hear the announcement on the radio or we see it online that, Chris Brown is coming in town in January, and you want to save for that. So you start saving, you know, I'm going to save this amount every week so I can be able to get the ticket to go to the Chris Brown concert. Sometimes 6 months in advance. Sometimes you may not know if something is coming, but you say, well, whoever's coming to town, in July when we get out of school, I want to be able to go and hang out with my friends. I'm going to save some money for, concert tickets. So I've last year concert tickets were this amount. Let me save this amount plus a little more, and then I'm sure I'll be able to, go to the concert, whatever concert comes in July. And so just setting goals to be able to do that, setting goals seasonally. If you know that back to school time, things are more expensive, save for January when things go on sale after Christmas. Things get marked down tremendously, and you say, I'm going to go and buy me some jeans, I'm going to go buy me a few shirts, save some money so that you're not spending it when it's what's considered peak buying season and you're doing it off peak season. It's the same thing with vacations. When people go on vacations during peak times, which are usually from somewhere around end of May, June, all the way through September or mid September, then those are the peak seasons where people are traveling and they expect a lot of people to be coming. But if you want to save money and go off peak, you can wait until November to go on vacation. When you get that week off, there's sometimes a week off between Election Day and Veterans Day, sometime in the month of November, or you can, your parents will take a few days off to let you guys go on vacation, and the vacation will be a lot cheaper and less crowded. So setting goals and planning how you're going to spend your money. You can do things that you want to do, but you may have to delay it a little bit based on the season, or delay it based on how much it'll cost later to do it in off peak. So those are some considerations that you can think about. When something brand new comes out, the new Jordans come out, they're very expensive when they first hit the market, but you let them stay out there and you get them the next season. So when the new ones come out, you get the ones that came out last season and they're a lot cheaper. And so it's not saying that you can't have them, but it's saying that you're managing your money in a way that's more beneficial for you. And you don't have to let people, judge you or talk bad about you because you're using your money wisely, because those people don't understand what you understand, that there's a science and there's a way to managing your money in such a way that you can get the most benefit from it. And so there's nothing to be ashamed about in doing that, in terms of saving and clipping coupons and buying things that are out of sale, that are on sale or out of season. Wait until the next year. My husband and I typically we'll upgrade our iPhones, but we'll get the iPhones that were 2 seasons before. So when the 12s were coming out, we were getting the XR. And it was still a great phone, but we didn't pay the price of the XR. This year, we happened to be getting the 13 Pro Max because they were on sale at half price when we turned in our old phones. So looking at things like that, looking at ways to get a deal and to save on the expense overall, it doesn't mean that you can't have it. Sometimes it means you have it later. Sometimes it means you get a later a older version, but you can still have things and still they work just as well. They work just as well, and you're not shortchanging yourself in that way, because what you want to think about are your long-term goals. And so making a plan to achieve the things you want to achieve financially, looking at your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, watching your habits and keeping track of what you're doing with your spending, because you can adjust things based on what it is that you want, what it is that you're doing. And that's always a great thing to be able to do and understand. So did you all have the opportunity to look at the spending plan sheet, that worksheet? Is that what some of you use to track those expenses and see what the costs were going to be?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. So looking at that spending plan, that's like creating a budget. So looking at, what it is that you actually spend, what you plan to spend versus what you actually spend, and then looking at some of those wants and needs, you're able to really get a good, clear picture of what your finances are doing and what you can do with them, right? So it helps you to identify things and be more aware and more alert, because your financial life is the main thing that you'll be in charge of going through for the rest of your life. Because as you get older and as you get more mature, you're going to always need money. That's just the bottom line. That's just the fact. We're going to always need financial resources to do the things that we have to do, just the basic things. That's not even talking about, extra wants and needs. Your basics, you're going to have a good handle on how you're spending your money, because you're going to be the one that's responsible for what it is that you need. Right now you have the support of parents, but now, after you move out and after you get a job and go on about your adult life, you're going to need to be able to understand how to do this. And when I was coming up, nobody taught me all of this stuff, and I didn't have a good understanding until I was so deep in financial chaos. I had to start to learn some things and figure some things out for myself. So for the question for some of the adults on the call, how many of you had any in-depth understanding and learning or training about finances when you were coming up? Were your parents diligent about teaching you about money? Did you have to learn as you went along? Who wants to chime in on that?
I'll chime in if nobody else has. And Maddie, my granddaughter, has put something in the chat.
Okay.
Can you see it? She has a job.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. A tither. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's wonderful, Maddie. Great. You're using the meals that you get at work. And 50% discount. Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome. That's excellent. So yeah, you guys look at what Maddie's doing. That's fantastic. So there are some perks that you get working at certain companies, right? And you get to have discounts. And if that's able to help you save some money, save it. Absolutely.
When I graduated from college, my parents, of course, did not want me to move away from home, and I had to move to get a job, and they realized that. So I moved a good distance from home, 3 hours from Joanna, South Carolina to Charleston, and I've been here for 51 years.
Oh, wow.
And I've seen my my parents, I've seen them budget, and but they didn't sit down and say, this is what you have to do. Neither did the schools teach us, nobody. Right. But with that less than $6,000 that I was making as a first year teacher, and was very proud and didn't want to ask my parents for anything because I wanted to show them that I could do it, I really had to learn how to budget myself. And I use pencil and paper right now with my budget, and it goes from year to year. And and so, I mean, it has been a blessing. I have not made the most money in my career as an educator, teacher, but it wasn't the least amount as some professions as well. And so, but no matter how much money you make, if you don't budget it, you're not going to be successful. You're not going to be able to do, when you get old, you want to be able to not go to work if you don't want to go. Okay. So if you don't start now, you'll have to be working till you're 90. I'm 71. And I mean, I'm well enough that I could go to work, but I'm the Uber for Maddie, and Maddie does pay me some money for gas every now and then. So,
that's fantastic. Well, Miss Sarah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, yes, a lot of times our parents didn't know a lot about finances, but they did teach you to take care of your money and not spend it foolishly, right? And so that's some of the things that we took away. But in terms of how to manage it and how to maneuver in some of these financial arenas, we didn't really know all that, right? But pen and paper is still good. Pencil and paper is still good. That's working for you. A spreadsheet, but we do have some very dynamic tools these days that help you do the calculations and figure things out relatively quickly. So that's awesome, though. And I appreciate you sharing, because it is not what you earn that counts. It's what you keep. And so out of that net income, you have to make that thing work as well as you can. And so taking some of those tips that Maddie is using, when we were called to go back to work, I work at Bank of America, obviously, but when we were called to go back to work, I went back in July. And so from July to September, they gave us a stipend for breakfast and for lunch at the restaurant that they support and they sponsor for employees. And so I was able to go and get breakfast every morning for free, and go and get lunch, and they gave us stipends for that. And so we just went and we had that. So that was a great boost in bringing people back into the office who had been out of work for a year and a half and didn't have to worry about buying lunch out if they didn't want to. And now they gave us this little benefit for coming back early, and that was a savings. And so anytime you can catch a deal, anytime you get a coupon for something, it's always beneficial, and everything counts. Everything helps. Anybody else want to share? Any of our adults want to share about their financial experience and what they've learned over the years? Ms. Barbara, you're on mute. If you want to unmute.
I'm Barbara, and this is invaluable information. And I'm the opposite of what you're telling me to do. And because and because of that, you know, and to learn early on, like you say, we didn't have any teachers. And then, you know, colleges, I don't know if they do high schools yet, they give you that credit card. An enemy, don't do it. An enemy. And you know, and sometimes you get in a habit. And I tell you, I've cut mine up twice in discipline, because it's like you say, oh man, you spend that, you put it out there, and then the interest rates. So by the time you pay it back, you pay for 3 times as much, if not more. But again, you know, I cannot stress, please listen, young people, and old people too. And I'm telling you, even myself, you know, budget, I would say, what's a budget? But you can have a lot more, and it is possible with Stero and all the others that have been doing it, and something that you don't, and you're enticed. Now your temptation is there because you're urged to get this credit card, you know, they come out constantly. And that's one of your largest, unless you have the position that you can pay it at that month, at pay as you go, and not let anything, because credit cards are necessities today, cashless, you know, so you need it. So you also need discipline. And so if you cannot afford it, don't do it. I mean, if you can't pay at the end of that period, don't do it. Take
Absolutely.
it from me, okay?
Great point, Ms. Barbara. And that's going to be in our next session. We're going to talk all about credit, because if you don't use it wisely, it can destroy your financial future. It can have you in a bind for quite a long time, because the interest, like you said, that interest will keep you paying, especially if you can only afford to pay minimum amounts. You'll be paying 20 years and you'll end up paying double what you charged, as opposed to paying it off every month when it comes in. So I'll talk to you all a little bit about that in the next session, because that'll be the final session for me. I'll wrap it up with credit and you know, how to use it wisely, because there's something called leveraging your credit. And credit leveraging is different, because for all those monthly expenses that you have, if you put it on a card that gives you reward points or travel points, you can use that to your benefit, because as long as you can pay that off the following month, then you'll be good. So your money will go into your direct deposit accounts. You'll use your credit card to pay for everything. And then when that bill comes, you'll go in and you'll send money right to that credit card to pay the entire balance off. And that's called credit leveraging, and it'll build your credit score, and it'll build your, you know, financial future, and your ability to get what you really want financially. So we'll talk about that in the next session. Any other adults want to share about their financial experience?
Ms. Cookie, this is Cyril. I just wanted to thank you for taking time this morning to spend with our students. This is amazing. This is a lot of learning. And I know this is like, you know, something every one of our students can carry this thing through. Even as an adult, Ms. Cookie, this is like a very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Cyril.
Thank you so much. They may not comprehend all of it right now, but as time progresses, I think they'll understand a little bit better.
Yes.
And this is helping me, so I can talk to Maddie about.
Oh, you went on mute.
Yeah, understand why I'm writing everything down that I spend, and while she's in the car and wanting to go here and there, that gas costs money, especially now.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes.
And that's a good point, because there's so much happening in the world, and sometimes as young people you don't understand how our finances are connected to so much. And again, I don't want to get too deep into politics, but we have to watch out for what's really going on. And when you get to voting age, really get educated about who you're voting for and what they stand for and what they represent, and start and be in a position to hold them accountable. When they have town hall meetings, when the mayor and the town council come before the town and talk about what they're doing, what their plans are, those are your tax dollars they're spending. That's what they're talking about using. They're not talking about, some money that's being created in the sky and they're just able to use it. That's money that we're all working for, contributing into
Right.
this massive structure of government. And so how they use that money, what they're using it on, is all important for all of us. And so be aware about what's going on in your community, how the money is being used. If you see something happening, if you see a intersection where there's no traffic light and there always some car accident happening, or the kids can't cross the street safely, talk to somebody about what is going on here. This street is not safe. We need you to put a traffic light there. This is what our tax dollars pay for. And when you see unemployment rates rising, you see that people aren't working, and that will drain the tax revenue that we have, and that affects how the government is able to spend money to help us with things that we need, like traffic lights and stop signs and extra police or firefighters or whatever we need in our community. So it's going to be an interesting journey for you. Don't be afraid. Learn as much as you can. Your generation is very fortunate, unlike some of us that are a little older, did not have access to the internet when we were coming up. So everything we learned took a trip to the library and going through encyclopedias and looking at newspapers, periodicals, and trying to figure things out. And we learned some things, but now you have the world in your hand with these smartphones. Use them wisely. Do more than do a TikTok video. TikTok can be fun. You can laugh. You can go out and, show your stuff. But go out on that internet and look and see what you can learn to help you. Look and see what's available that you can do to, grow your bottom line, because the earlier you start saving, the more you can grow your revenue for when you retire. Because like Miss Sarah said, you want to be at an age where if you had to work, you could. You're not physically disabled. But why work if you don't have to? If you've worked all these years and saved up enough money that you can retire and your time is your own, that's your greatest resource. Your time to do what it is that you love to do, spending time with family. By the time you retire, you'll have grandchildren, hopefully, and children, and, friends that you want to travel with, or things that you want to do, hobbies. Nonprofit organizations that you want to support, like Cyril's nonprofit, like this organization, Proverbs 225. There's a lot to do.
226. 226.
226. I'm sorry. 226. So you there are organizations to support. Cyril, hopefully this organization will be around. One of you may be leading it. Who knows? So think about how money is being handled in your life and what you can do with it in your future. Because again, it's not what you earn that counts, it's what you keep and how you use what you keep. So all very important key points here. If anybody else has anything they want to share, I'm open for that right now. Anybody in the chat? Oh, Takora?
So I work at Dunkin' Donuts, but we don't get paid as much. And I went through a time like during the quarantine where all I did was shop. And I regret that. So instead of using that time to save, I would just be bored. So I would spend like $100 on clothes that now I don't even wear. And so shopping can be a really bad habit, or bad habits can really like consume you to where you're just, instead of doing what you're supposed to, you're focusing on wants rather than needs. And if I would have focused on saving, then I would have been better off now and in the future than when I was doing all
What a great lesson to learn at your young age. Look at that. So one of the things I want you to understand about what you just shared, you may look at it like, oh, that I missed that opportunity, right? But look at how young you are, and you experience that. So now it's a lesson that you've got in you. It's a concrete lesson that you understand. And so you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to make that same mistake again. And then even people on the phone that are hearing you, they don't have to do that either. They can take a lesson from what you've just shared and say, hey, I'm not going to do that, because we never know what's going to come up in the future. I know I have these plans and these goals. I want to do some things. Let me save my money now, and I can use it in the future to do some things that are going to be really valuable. Because to your point, it's something you don't even wear now, right?
Yeah.
So you look at it and you're like, oh man, if I had saved that money, I could use it to do this, or I could use it to do that. But yeah, sometimes we're going to make those kinds of choices, and I'm not going to call it a mistake. It's a lesson that you can learn from. And so sometimes we take those to make those choices about our money, and we'll live to regret it. But the thing is, you can always turn it around. So don't get yourself into such a hole that you feel like you can't get out of it, because you can. But just be mindful of the choices that you're making. And that's a great lesson that you're learning right now.
And that lesson is something you're going to be learning throughout your life. At 71, I've learned that I turn off QVC and Home Shopping Network, because some of those little advertisements are so good, but I'm not going to be wearing that stuff lately, so I just turn it off. So we have to learn not to put ourselves in a position where we're going to be too tempted to, but it's throughout life. So that's a good learning lesson that she's already learned. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. And I've enjoyed this so much, Ms. Cookie. This has been a blessing to all of us.
Oh, thank you so much. QVC was one of my triggers at one point. Thank God I got out of it. But I mean, there will be temptations, right? And they're going to be things that you want. That's just a fact. There are things that we're going to want in life, and we're going to spend whatever we need to spend to get it. But it does not have to be the end of you. And as long as you keep an awareness of what you're doing and know that you can recover from it, you'll be fine. But for the long term, you want to actually absolutely have a plan. Having a financial plan will help you to buffer any hiccups that you come up against. It'll help you plan for it and be able to navigate around some of the hiccups, some of the down turns that you'll have in your financial life. But just remain hopeful, stay flexible about your approach to this, and you'll be successful. You'll be successful, because none of this is written in stone. It's going to be a work in progress as you go along. You're going to be able to change and make different decisions, different choices as you go along, and it'll all work out for the good in the long run. So just remember that. And you all are already on your way to great things. I can just sense that you are already going to take things by storm going into your future. So stay hopeful and stay positive.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Cookie.
You're welcome.
Your time today, and also for everyone, the kids, as well as all the volunteers. We wanted to wish you a very happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Hopefully, you're leaving some room for Friday to eat. But the thing is, we're so glad how God has taken us through this journey. We'll come back on the third Saturday of December, which is going to be the 18th. It's the week before Christmas, but we will do on that day, with Miss Cookie talking to us, and also there are a few things that we are working on. We will share our vision for 2022, where we are going and what we will be doing, and as we are preparing for the fall semester, the kids that are going to school, we will, talk through some of the visions that we have for next year. But in the meantime, enjoy this weekend as well as your Thanksgiving. We'll see you next.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Take care, everyone.